Hello, I am Sharon Pinder, the President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and the operator of the Virginia Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, the first one of its kind in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But also, today I'm the host of Hotchat podcast, Hotchat Live. And Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council is one of 23 regional affiliates of the National Minority Supply Development Council, the nation's premier organization for certifying minority-owned businesses across this country. This year, we are especially proud because we're celebrating 50 years. Yes, 50 years of developing, advocating, connecting minority businesses with contracting opportunities within the private sector. This month, we're kicking off Women's History Month by sitting down and speaking with, today, Michelle Rice, President TVONE and Cleo TV, where she has oversight of all business, operational, and creative aspects for both network. I cannot wait to talk to her, but this has been a great conversation month as we have been telling her story. We are in our second season, and we hope that you have been enjoying our podcast discussions. In case you've missed any of them, please see our website, CRMSDCcares.com, and you can see back up into a year or so ago of our past podcasts. I guarantee you they are all very interesting, but this might be the most interesting one yet. But before we get started in talking to Michelle Rice, I need to pay some homage to our sponsors. Our title sponsors, Exelon, BGE, an Exelon company, Pepco, an Exelon company, Capital One, Minority Businesses, AMCUS, and SB and Company, and of course, our Minority Business Development Agency, our Virginia office. As before I bring on Michelle, now I could sit here for the next hour or so and read you her resume, but I think we need to get into the conversation. But I will tell you, as I just shared, she is president of TVONE and Cleo TV, and she was named president in October 2020. Previously, Rice served as general manager since 2017. She has oversight, as I told you, of those operations. She has shepherded development and launch of TVONE and new sister network, Cleo TV, which I know that she's very proud of. And it's an aspirational lifestyle and entertainment TV network serving millennials and Gen Xers, women of color, that launched in January of 2019. Since its launch, she has successfully leveraged relationships to expand distribution of Cleo TV on AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon platforms. Coincidentally, some of our sponsors as well. She has been named one of Cablefax's top 100 in cable, top minorities in cable, top women in cable. She's also been recognized as NAMIC, I guess I'll get that pronunciation, Emerging Leaders, Broadcasting of Cable's Next Wave of Leaders, 40 Under 40 by Multicultural News. And she's played a pivotal role in strategic partnerships like NAACP. But under her leadership, there has been a lot that has happened, but we want to talk to her personally about all that. But Michelle, if you can join me, I'd like to get our conversation started. And hello, and again, thank you. We certainly appreciate you being a part of our Women's History Month as we tell her story, and we're going to tell the story of Michelle Rice.
Well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and certainly always glad to participate in Women's History Month and telling her story.
I know. And so for folks who may not know, TVONE is a part of, could you explain kind of like the hierarchy there? TV is part of TVONE.
Yeah. So TVONE and Cleo TV is basically it's the television division under Radio One, which is now known as Urban One. So our parent company is Urban One. And under Radio One, Urban One, there's several different divisions. There's the radio division, which is Radio One. There is a syndicated radio division with all the personalities that we know and love, from Russ Parr to used to be Tom Joyner and now Ricky Smiley, Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell. So Reach Media and Radio One is the radio division. TV1 and Cleo TV is the television division, which I run. And then we also have a digital division called One Interactive One Digital.
That sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that minority owned, and a member of the National Minority Supply Development Council, and of course headquartered in our region. And so we're very, very proud of that affiliation as well. But
headquartered and launched in your region with Kathy Hughes, who was our founder, who started here in Washington, D.C. with her first, one radio station.
Yeah, absolutely. An icon and her, a legend of her time, and continues to kind of raise the bar of the things that go on. And so real proud of that affiliation, and real proud of, that's her story as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and looking at yours, Michelle, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from New Jersey, small town on the Jersey Shore, Neptune, New Jersey. Some people may have heard of a little town called Asbury Park. So we're the neighboring town, small town in Neptune, New Jersey. My parents are from the South. My dad's from Birmingham, Alabama. My mother's from Mississippi, and they ended up in Jersey.
In Jersey? Okay.
In Jersey. Met, married at Tennessee State University, got transferred to Fort Mama, a military base in New Jersey. So I grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey.
Okay. How did you end up in this area?
I ended up in this area coming to work for TVONE, actually.
Okay. So you've only been here a short time?
Oh, no. Well, I didn't grow up here, but I wouldn't call it a short time. TVONE launched in 2004. So I have been at the network since the day that it launched. So I moved to this area in 2004.
So what was that like to launch a new television station? What was that like?
Well, I started literally day one that the network launched. There's a whole lot, that goes into they already had the operations and everything. And then my job at that time was head of, was one of the heads of sales. And, basically my responsibility, head of affiliate sales, not ad sales, was to go out and get affiliates like Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, folks of that nature, to carry our television network on their local cable system. So I went out all around the country negotiating deals with both, corporate, local stations, to expand our distribution. And it was interesting because even at that time, there was only one other Black network, BET. And it was, you'd be surprised that folks really didn't understand, like, well, we already have one Black channel. Why do we need another one? But, at the end of the day, we need to represent the communities that we serve. And they need to, the offerings on our channel lineup need to meet the needs of the communities that they serve. So one network wasn't enough. And as you can see, with the proliferation of Black content across all different media platforms, and Black folks have always been, people of color have always been voracious users of digital products and services. And so they need to, make sure that they are being served. Let's not forget how much money we spend as consumers.
And I was about to say that it was also kind of leaving some money on the table, wouldn't you say, in terms of getting the attention of those folks that really needed to understand or understood us as consumers.
Yeah, I do think that, almost 20 years later, that people are finally starting to understand the value, starting to value what we want, put your money where your mouth is. So we're starting to see dollars flow into Black owned media. And you also see, like I said, a lot more content on by Black content creators. So not just content that's not made by us, but content that's made by us and for us. as well as more Black folks owning their own companies and production companies and having an opportunity to control our own narrative.
And I think that's very, very important because when you look at and you said it's been about 20 years or so, when you look at just the platform and you wonder, where did all of this content come from, and was it hidden somewhere all this time because there was nowhere to show it? And so when you just, and if you're not in the industry, you just don't understand all it takes in order to put any of that on, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have somewhere to put it. So,
Mhm.
right. So there was, like I said, there was BET, at one point, just one outlet, and then TV1. And then, that there began to launch other, networks. But now you see with the streamers, the streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon,
Mhm.
and Hulu and others, there
You
has
see a
been
lot of Black content
a
there.
focus on it. I remember though many years ago going to Netflix and they literally had no Black movie series, anything, and saying, "Hey, look, we'd be happy to work with you to produce Black content. We really need to be represented on these platforms." And one day someone woke up and said, "This is a good idea."
Mhm.
But it always has been a good idea and it's always made good business sense. Sometimes it just takes, people figuring it out.
Well, it's like it seems like it's almost akin to like segregation, and now things are desegregated on different platforms, right? And so, folks, you heard it here. Don't forget who brought you to the party,
That's
in terms of our,
Well, I
our
think also with social media and
mhm,
different ways that now consumers of color are able to really voice their discontent with some of their, these brands, and really, you know, Twitter and Instagram and social media has really allowed people to voice their concerns with how brands are representing or misrepresenting us, um,
mhm,
and really forcing them to come to the table with real dollars. So I think that has been one of the changes that you've seen, especially over the pandemic, not just the pandemic, but then, we had Black Lives Matter, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and all these things where Black folks are just, fed up and basically saying you need to do better. Um,
mhm,
and so we've seen with that I'm even going to say a resurgence. We've been seeing, because it really was never there. We've been seeing,
an
the
investment.
an investment exactly, that literally either you put your money where your mouth is or you will not get our business. And that buying power and that share of voice that we are
Mhm.
able to have through these other platforms has really been effective in getting people to give us our respect.
Let me ask you a question though, because we saw an influx of the same kind of behavior, right?
Mhm.
And you know, there was this influx of corporations now saying, we want to make this investment into minority businesses,
Mhm.
and it was that integration or intersection rather of George Floyd and the pandemic and the impact it had on minority businesses. And
Mhm.
so you kind of hope and you wonder if it's I don't want to say it's guilt money, but you kind of hope that it's not temporary, that it's not a cycle
Right.
of investment into a market that certainly has been worthy for years. And so what we see now in terms of the business environment, hopefully, we go into a post-pandemic environment, and now we're looking at the economic impact of what's happening with Ukraine and Russia and stuff. And so all these things kind of will impact minorities in a different kind of way.
Mhm.
And so
Look, you
that's
don't want to call it guilt money, Sharon, but let's call it what it is.
mhm,
And at the end of the day,
uh-huh,
we were finally getting our due, and
mhm,
it's it's the money that we should have gotten. That the influx of dollars into Black companies, Black media, is the money that you really just leveling up to where you should have been. And so I agree with you that I hope that we've already proven the value. We shouldn't have to prove
I love that.
we have to prove the to keep the dollars. We shouldn't have to prove the value that we've already proven.
Mm-hmm.
So you just leveled up, and so we're looking for the bar to be raised to where it really should be. So this is just step one.
I love that. We just leveled up to step one. Look out. So tell us the differentiation in your market for TV1, and then tell us about, if I remember correctly, it was kind of your brainchild for Cleo TV. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So Cleo, short for Cleopatra, because Cleopatra was a boss. She was a young, visionary leader. She was a woman who was leading in a role that was typically, a man's role. And so
Mm-hmm.
I love the thought of that. And we see that particularly with a lot of younger millennial and younger Gen X women of our time who are bosses, and they're really out here claiming and in the footsteps of many of those who have walked ahead of us in that path, and they're doing it very fearlessly. And so I thought that was like the perfect name for this network. And to the credit of all of our partners from Comcast, to Verizon, Charter Communications, to their credit that they launched this channel, they supported us, they have put the network on in their cable systems across the country. And I'm really excited about it. Yes, it was my brainchild. I just really looked at how women were being portrayed in television. And again, it wasn't us telling our own stories. It wasn't, and Black women in general are not monolithic. We have more than one story. We have, we're Black, we're, Hispanic, we're Afro-Latina, we have Asian people from Jacob. There's just a whole diaspora of cultures and stories to be told. And so we weren't really seeing that on television, but we were definitely seeing women going, online to get the content that they weren't getting on TV. And one of the things that we noticed that lifestyle was not being represented. So we watched a ton of other networks that show cooking and food and fashion, but you don't see Black hosts, and you don't see, we have a show called Culture Kitchen, which is a perfect example that has an Afro-Latina chef. She's half Jamaican and Cuban. And so you don't see that experience on TV. We have a show coming up with a Nigerian chef. And so there's just all these other stories that needed to be told. And that was really, what was behind it. But number one, it started with making sure that Black women were shown in a positive light.
And I think that's so terribly important that that reversal happens, right? Very, very good. Can you give us some ideas of what's to come with Cleo?
Yeah, I mean, it's just we are going to continue to lean into lifestyle. I mean, one of the reasons why I went into this business, Sharon, is, as I said, Black women need to be shown in a positive light. And I remember growing up when I was a kid in television, there really was no one on TV that looked like me. There wasn't anyone on television that really had my story or stories that I could relate to. And I think that it's really important that we, show people what they can be. And that's the aspirational piece. And really to see that we live our lives, our relationships, our fashion, beauty, culture, travel. We're doing all these fabulous things that everyone else is doing. We're doing it our own way and unapologetically our way.
Okay.
And you'll see more of that on Cleo. We'll, like I said, very leaning into the lifestyle space, leaning to and embracing the beauty of our similarities and the beauty of our differences.
So for folks who are listening to us, and if there's someone who aspires to do something in television, how would they, and if they have an idea, how would they get something done? Can you kind of take us through an example of someone that perhaps it would have come to you with a programming idea and got it done?
Well, I don't take pictures. So
Mhm.
don't come to me with programming ideas. And that's the first thing that I always say to people. Your idea is intellectual property. And so I think people like to just run up to people and say, I have these ideas. And when I started sitting in this seat and really working closely with programming, people who are in that department will say it is very rare for an original idea to come across their desk.
I would imagine.
And when they see it, it may be the same idea done a little differently.
Right. Right.
So again, it's very difficult to just walk up to someone and pitch an idea. They don't want to hear it. Like, wait, don't tell me that, because we already have a show. We already have a show that we're looking at, and you don't want people to think that you stole their intellectual property. So
Which we've seen from time to time that happened, right? Or the claim of that. We've seen the claim.
Of that. So make sure that you are, number one, protecting your intellectual property. You should be, if you're going to submit an idea. And by the way, ideas aren't intellectual properties. Intellectual property is a piece of content, a script,
the tangible part,
something that's tangible. An idea can't be anything that can't be, you can't copyright an idea. So that's not intellectual property. So you're not going to get paid for your ideas. So don't tell people your ideas. Write the script, write the story, write the treatment, shoot a short. Look at Issa Rae, who, and basically created a tangible piece of content, intellectual property. Someone discovered it, and boom, So that's the first advice that I would give to people, that ideas are not intellectual property. If you have something, create a tangible piece of content, and that can be shared. You should protect it, and then that can be shared. And if people are interested in, now the beauty of it, there's so many different platforms and opportunities. You see people creating content on YouTube, on TikTok, and people like me, networks, agents, people do look on the web as a way to discover fresh new voices and talent. So yeah.
Very, very good. Okay, so Michelle, this is Women's History Month, and her story. What would you say to someone that says that would say, I want to be a boss like Michelle Rice? What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
That's funny. I want to be a boss like Michelle Rice.
Boss like Michelle Rice. She's a boss.
I mean, it's really whatever that means to you. I mean, my history is, my story is my story. And so the first thing, I love the definition of fearless. And people are like, oh my God, you had to be so fearless to do these things, kind of stepping out on faith, going your own way. I mean, I didn't even know that this was a job when I was going to college. I just knew, I wanted to be in television. And so
hold on for a minute. So you've always known that that's what you wanted to do. Did you know what you wanted to do in television?
No.
Okay.
I thought I wanted to be, a news anchor. So I worked in the newsroom, and again, internships are invaluable because they teach you. They either reinforce what you want to do or tell you, no way, I don't want to do this. And that's kind of what happened to me. I interned at a television station, and I had a great, young reporter mentor who, gave me advice. And I said to him, well, what is the guy in the office back there who leaves every day at 6 o'clock, he has a nice car, and he goes home, and the rest of us still here slaving in this newsroom. And he's like, that's the general manager. He's in sales. So I was like, okay, I'm doing that.
Okay.
Y'all are all going to work for me. So I
claimed it, and look what happened.
I claimed it, and look what happened. So there's that. That's number one thing to the path to being a boss is claim it. Claim whatever you think that your passion is, and you really have to kind of hone in on it, but you have to take chances. And I always say to young people, as people of color, we're always, told, and you probably have heard this from your grandmother, we can't fail. Like, at the end of the day, yes, you can. You just need to get up and pivot. I don't call them failures, I call them pivots. So you try something, you don't succeed, you learn, you pivot, and you move forward. That's how half these Silicon Valley companies were created. If you talk to anyone in the Silicon Valley, all of these companies, they go out there, they fail fast, they start a new idea, and boom, it's the $1 million idea. So don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to fail. And being fearless doesn't mean you move forward without fear. It means you move forward anyway.
Okay, absolutely. So that's fearless is one of the attributes if you want to be a boss like Michelle Rice.
You do it afraid.
Yeah. But also don't be. I think what you said was very significant. Don't be afraid of failing, because you're right. Those folks that are the highly successful have failed multiple times, and they keep it going. And so you were saying that you went to Temple undergrad, right?
I did.
Okay, and that's where the idea was hatched, or was it when you were in grad school?
The idea was hatched at Temple. I had the internship while at Temple, which then made me move to LA. My parents were living in California, and go to grad school out there.
Okay. You said you did go to grad school. You did not.
I did.
Okay, that's what I thought. University of Southern California is where you went.
Yep.
There as well, and then ended up on the East Coast.
I did. I came back. My parents stayed in California a while. They're here now, but my first job out of grad school was at Black Entertainment Television, BET. So that's where I got my start.
How would you tell people to differentiate the two of them, the two and the BET?
How to differentiate
TV1 from BET?
I mean, we're different in that we have different programming. I mean, both of the networks are designed to inform, entertain, inspire Black people. We skew more female, and we have our own, unique personalities. That's like asking someone to differentiate between ABC, NBC, and CBS. It's really just the content. We're all networks. We target the same audience. We skew more female. It's about the programming and the tone of the network, and what we offer.
No, I think that's important for folks to know. I think what you said was very, very valuable. What's your perspective of the entertainment industry since the pandemic? Have you seen any difference there? I mean, that was kind of like the great coming of stuff. You've seen anything from the pandemic?
Since the pandemic, I would say the biggest change, because of some of the things that we talked about, earlier, would be, basically that the small screen that you have in your home is now the small screen that is now a place for premium TV. And, I would say prior to the pandemic, not so much. Now we have these smart TVs. Television viewing levels went up during COVID. A lot of people, some, churned out of the cable ecosystem and into just being, streaming service only households. Some have Netflix and, linear TV services. So I think that this small screen in your household has now become this smart hub of premium TV choices. And there's a lot there. Again, you've got Disney Plus, you've got Hulu, you have your cable networks like, TVONE. So that's been the biggest shift, is that there are a lot more content offerings. And so I think that the content creators, and you see the content is gotten a lot better because there's a lot more accessibility to all of these different services from one screen.
How do you think that we should prepare our young people, meaning children, for this industry? What are the things that you think that? Well, here's and what I mean by this is that um, sometimes we want to try to gear our children toward things that may be lucrative to them in the future.
Mm-hmm.
What can be done, and maybe it's done in the schools, in terms of curriculum, but what are those things that parents can do or the school system can do in order to prepare youngsters? It's a word that old people used to use, youngsters,
Youngins.
yeah, for a future in this industry. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about exposure. Again, I go back to
Mhm.
I never knew this job existed. So it's really about exposing, to use your word, youngsters
Mhm.
to different industries, to different careers, to different opportunities. And there are a plethora of career opportunities
Yeah.
in media, not just, in front of the screen. That's kind of what we see. But, there's producers and writers and a digital department and lawyers and accountants. So you can work within the television, industry, but still be in a discipline where you excel. So I excel in math. I can be an accountant who works at a television network. Um, but if I'm a great writer, maybe I'm a content creator or I'm a digital editor. So it's all about being exposed to a lot of different things. I know some of the high schools have programs in different areas. Pre-law. There's a high school in this area that is actually opening a media facility that will expose high schoolers to media and digital careers. So again, it's really about exposure.
Yeah. And I ask that question. I think about it because I think of the addiction my grandkids have to that little screen. Right. And then I thought, well, maybe there's a way I could say, I could look at how do I monetize for them in the future this obsession that they have right now by saying, looking forward, if you enjoy doing this, these are things that you can think about in the future. And I think that's kind of
There's summer programs. Find
yeah.
summer programs because what I always, we used to say to my son who was a gamer, it's like, I don't want you to
Mhm.
just play the game. I want you to understand coding. I want you to
Yeah.
be able to make the game. I want you to be able to create the game. So, send if that's an interest, you send them find there are lots of camps and that
Mhm.
have programs around some of these different areas to make sure that children are being exposed to different opportunities and careers that really speak to their passion.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say congratulations to you. First, starting with Miss Hughes, of course, because you've been able to break barriers. And I understand kind of what's happening in the marketplace now, but it's been an old boys network for so many years. And
Yeah.
so for you to be able to come in and I'm very proud that you're president of a TV net. I mean, I don't know too many people that are president of TV networks and have ideas in terms of the development of things that are so impactful. And so I'm very proud to know you and of the work that you do. And so congratulations and thank you for what you do. And thank you for the path that you're clearing for someone else. And so as we look at Women's History Month, I think it's important to have that conversation of kind of like who's next? Who do we, each
Mhm.
one reach one, who do we bring along? What path have we been able to clear in order to make it better for someone else? Kathy Hughes cleared a path for a lot of women in that industry because when she thought about buying a radio station, I think she and Dorothy Brunson, I mean, it was just kind of unheard of. And so for that to happen and look how it has grown into
Absolutely.
this conglomerate, I mean, just
Mhm.
how incredible is that? And so thank you for your part in that for sure.
Yeah, and again, we love our founder. She's amazing, and you look at her, And, I think about how hard it was for me as a, Black woman when I was coming up in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I can do what I can do because she did what she did. And so,
Absolutely.
of course, I know that I can be successful in my role because I have people like Kathy Hughes to stand on.
Yeah. And I listened to what you said in terms of when you first came and negotiations that you had to make. And uh, you were younger than you are now. And so having to walk in a room and be taken seriously
Right.
and to do what you had to do. And so that's not a trivial thing to have happen. What would you advise people, folks who, again, want to be a boss like Michelle Rice?
Mhm.
What are the kind of skills that you think that are important? And the second thing is that in the spirit of self-care,
Yeah.
how do you kind of take care of yourself?
I'll start with the first one. I mean, the most important thing is to know your craft and to know your audience. I mean, I do countless. I'm a over preparer. I go into a meeting. Um, you know, you want to know what are they looking for? What are they
Mhm,
looking for? Understand their business fundamentals because I'm selling them something, so I want to know what they are looking to buy. And I will, when people are pitching us things and we say we're not looking for, let's say I'm not looking for a movies right now. We're looking for X, but you still come in and pitch me movies.
mm,
Happens all the time. Like you just
mhm,
think you're going to convince me to do it. I'm not buying movies. Sell
mhm,
me what I want to buy. And so at the end of the day, it really is about knowing your audience, being prepared, and good presentation, showing up um, to the game, uh, looking like you belong in that room. Because
mm,
you're right. A lot of
yeah,
folks didn't know, people did not look like me and still don't for that matter,
mhm,
um,
mhm.
in the roles in which, in the rooms where I am. So that's number one. And then self-care is, working out when I can get it in, really focusing on putting that time on my schedule during the day. And I found that, you know what, I hate to get up early, but if I put, a workout on my schedule at 6 or 7 in the morning, it gets done. And then I don't feel bad eating whatever I want to eat. But, just, staying fit and, mental fitness and physical fitness. And the mental fitness for me is really just, sometimes just having to check out. I love to travel. I love to read and spend time with my family. All those things keep me grounded, so that I can be healthy and do the work that I do every day.
Well, very, very, very good. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question before we close out. I know people do not go up to Michelle Rice with a concept or an idea, and she's not buying movies right now, but what are you buying?
No, that was just an
I
example.
know, I'm only teasing you.
We're always buying. Actually, movies is a big, what I call vertical for us. So we're always looking for good movies, and we love to tell the stories that haven't been told, or stories that have been told in a different way. A perfect
Mhm,
example is behind the movement. How many Rosa Parks stories had you heard? But this was really about all the different women who played a role in
mm. Okay.
the movement, in the Montgomery, who organized the Montgomery bus boycott, something that
Mhm,
I didn't even know. So I
mhm,
love to learn something different and new about our history. And every day I'm inspired of, the fearless men and women who, risk their lives in various movements, then and now. Um, from civil rights to Black Lives Matter.
mhm.
I think that there's so many stories that need to be told or yet to be told, and that's what we're always looking for.
And as a people, we have a lot of stories that have not been told and have yet to be told. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have Michelle Rice, TV1, Cleo TV, a part of the Urban One. What is it, a conglomerate? The Urban One organization.
It is a conglomerate.
Okay. Okay. And
Okay.
not too many conglomerates that have been created and developed and maintained by people of color. And so we are very, very proud to have you here. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been lovely.
Okay. Thank you. So listen, that concludes our discussion with Michelle Rice. But and Michelle, again, thank you for your time. But that was a very thoughtful conversation. I certainly appreciate knowing that it's a lot more story to tell about Michelle Rice. Don't take your eye off of her. I think that we're going to see a lot more from her. But before we get ready to go, I have to thank some additional corporate sponsors who support our mission and help us do what we do every day. And that's AARP, Allianz Science and Technology, AT&T, BAE Systems, and for those who are just listening to me, I'm reading BWI Thurgood Marshall International Airport, the City of Baltimore, DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, Dominion Energy, the Ellison Group, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Financial Realty Services, the Hilton, Horseshoe Casino, Leidos, Lockheed Martin, M&T Bank, the Maryland's Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, Mass Mutual, McCormick, Northrop Grumman, Parsons, Peapod, Prince George's County Office of Central Services, SAIC, Sodexo, Truist, United States Postal Service, University of Maryland College Park, the University of Maryland Global Campus, Washington Gas, the Metro, Zillion Technology, and Zones. As I shared with you earlier, this is our golden anniversary, and we have a host of events in store for you this year. To learn more about our programs and events that are coming up, go to our website at www.crmsdc.org. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And at CRMSDC is our handle, and listen to us on our podcast. Sign up and listen to us on Google, Spotify, and Apple. And I'd like to thank our team, Sonia Bigelow-Smith, Renee Sanford, Nicole Miles, and others, and of course, Graybo Production for producing our show, for producing our production elements for us today. Thank you, and stay tuned for more Women History Month. And in the month of April, we're going to do a focus on financial literacy. We focus on those things that are essential for minority businesses. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.